We use it to put it in chains like slaves by
behind the sheet
two, have
music.
sheet
Yeah.
music and be sitting down and be like this, literally doing the opposite of what this instrument was created for, making it
Wow.
blend in. That's horrible for me, and this is something that I want to change.
The following is a conversation I recently had with Kostia Lucky. Kostia is a violinist superstar from Ukraine, now living in Miami, whose music has taken him to stages and performances throughout the continent, receiving many prestigious awards. And as soon as you check out his Instagram and socials at Kostia Lucky, you're going to immediately see why. Now, throughout this conversation, Kostia unpacks for us his philosophy behind how he really creates such magnetic experiences through his music. And Kostia's philosophy might have your mind spinning a little bit, but it will definitely have you fired up and pumped about what it means to be a musician, have you looking at your craft in an entirely new way. So I'm really excited for you to check out this episode. My name is Allison Legendre. Please do enjoy. What's going on, Kostia? How are you doing?
Doing great, doing incredible. It's a beautiful day here in Miami. Not really seeing too much of the solar eclipse. It's the solar eclipse day. But
Right.
yeah, but it's definitely a little bit darker right now than usual. But yeah, doing great. Working on music. I just gave a lesson, the usual.
So the people who are listening in have just heard a cool intro all about you, but words can't really describe music like music can. So I thought it'd be a little fun if we scroll through your Instagram for a little bit and you could comment a little bit on what we're seeing.
Sounds good. Bring it on.
Let's do it. Okay, so let me just get this.
Oh yeah. Rock and roll.
I love this. Like, tell us what is happening here. Like, I'm just scrolling through Instagram and you're standing on a piano. What was that like fabulous performance there? Tell us the story there.
So it was a performance that a friend of mine, who is one of the most amazing event planners in the country right now, she was throwing this like epic 60-year-old, I believe, or like 45-year-old birthday party. And so they rented the piano, not for anybody to play it or not for anything like musical to go on. There is no even microphones on the piano, but the piano was rented solely with the purpose of me standing on top of it and doing this grand finale, which
Right.
I absolutely loved. Like, I don't know, maybe if they ask anybody else, it's gonna be oh, what is this? I was like, bring it on. That's what you want. That's what you get. That's what I like about entertainment side of music and about like all of these different events, is that you're able to express yourself and you're able to express the planner's vision, as much as you can, as much as you want. It's just really joyful to be able to do things like this, as opposed to any of the the usual route, for especially for string players. So yeah, so this is not to throw shade on pianists or anything like that. I totally love the piano. A lot of my friends are amazing pianists. It was just honestly for show. And she just has this great vision where it's everything combined, and that's what I love about music. And I believe to be successful, you have to have all of those pieces come together: music, show, feeling of the moment. And for me, we'll get even deeper into it as time goes on, but for me there is a very big spiritual component to playing music. And I'm gonna give out the disclaimer, as I said, right away. I'm gonna give out a disclaimer. Some of the parts of my talk and my speech might become a little preachy or trite, or there might be some like things that you think are cliche and overused, but these are legit things, and these are the words that I'm using are very carefully selected, and these are the things that I have come to throughout my experience as a musician and as a human. So yeah, buckle up.
I love it. Bring it on. We're ready for it. And yeah, so I was curious about that story there. So it's good to know that that was part of the plan for you to get on the piano. But I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
the presentation. It's a lot of fun. So with that,
Thank
I
you.
know that you do have a unique take to the instrument of the violin to begin with, and a unique philosophy. But let's bring it back. Can you bring it back to us for us how this all started in your journey with music? Tell us a little bit about your story. What led you to Miami now? If you can, in a nutshell, what has your journey been like in music?
So music has been in my life since I was a very, very little kid. Probably since I remember myself, and I started a little bit before I was 5. And so back home in Ukraine, we have this tradition of everybody goes to a government-sponsored music school for kids. We have those. It's in America, it's completely different. You get a private tutor since you're a little kid. And to be honest, I really love this idea and the fact that I was able to get this amazing opportunity and amazing education, a complex education with, violin and secondary piano lessons and choir and theory and music history and all of this in a governmental school, which is kind of a remnant of the Soviet Union, which I'm not a fan of, but that was a good thing about it. And I really loved it. So, but my mom started off of a different route. She wanted to do better because she really wanted to, to push us to being musicians, me and my brother, because she wanted to be a musician when she was a kid, and the family and financial situation at that point in her life, it didn't happen. So she wanted to push us into doing it. So she brought me um, to the class of the most famous violin teacher at that time, this old guy, and she actually paid for private lessons for me. She wanted to really, she was like, oh, this guy is going to be a musician. And I was like 4 years old, almost 5. And so this guy, he practiced with me for about like a month or so, a couple months. And then I still remember it. He called up my mom and he was like, forget about it. This guy was never going to be a violinist. He's never going to be a musician. You got to put him into like dance or acrobatics or something else. Cause I wasn't even 5 years old. I was like a little kid.
Hmm.
So he was like, this guy can't focus. He can't do the things that I'm telling him to do. He can't do the things. And so, you know, now knowing the American style, I believe that in America, I would just be put on like Adderall or Ritalin, which would completely ruin my life. But
Right.
my mom, being in Ukraine, we don't really have those practices, thank God. And my mom, she decided that this was my destiny and that one teacher's opinion, even though he was the best teacher in town, she decided that one teacher's opinion is not going to change my life. And she
Hmm.
went to another school. They said I was too young. She went to another school and she found a great teacher for me. So that's when I got all of my honestly bass, like, because I was performing concertos with an orchestra since I was 9 years old. So
Wow.
I grew up as a classical violin prodigy superstar in my little town. And in Ukraine, I was doing all of these like national competitions since I was little. Almost every year, I would do a couple competitions and bring in first prizes, grand prizes, things like that. It was a different life and a different. People thought my purpose was that, and I'm very good at classical, and I love it, and I still perform it, and I have a different vision for presentation for classical music because I believe that classical music itself, it's not a problem. It's the presentation that is so outdated, and that there's literally no other genre of music that's being presented in such a horrible way and such an
Hmm.
inhumane way. Like
Hmm.
it's not designed for humans to enjoy.
Hmm.
And I can elaborate on that later. But but being able to be here in America, being able to be exposed to all of these different ways of music making and ways of expressing oneself as a musician and ways of presenting the music, in a whole sort of idea of a happening, in a whole idea of an experience rather than a sit down uh, presentation, or like I call it the exhibitionist approach. where
Right.
you're like in an exhibition. You're like just there, and it is what it is. It's a work of art, and you watch and you admire and you leave and you shut up and you don't take your cell phone, all of that. It's like, it's really, as I said, it's a really inhumane sort of way of enjoying music. It's great, amazing music, but it's a very sort of outdated way of doing it, in my opinion. And as far as classical music goes, I have a whole idea of reimagining the classical music concerts, and I put on these shows with my good friend Armen on piano, where it's the same classical music. It's my interpretation, but I'm playing classical music. I'm not like reworking it or improvising, not too much, but but we're playing these classical pieces of music, but we're not following any of this tradition. I'm making it
Mm-hmm.
into a happening. I have
Mm-hmm.
people in my show. I would never do this thing where I have a robotic voice greeting my audience saying, please turn off your cell phones, please do not stand up, please wait till
Right.
the end. It's horrible. And
Right.
that's literally, that's not me mocking it. That's literally how our school is, for example, putting on the symphonic concerts. That's the first thing that the audience, our amazing, I love audiences. It's
Mm-hmm.
all for the people. It's not for me. It's for the people to enjoy. Our amazing audience is being greeted by that.
Mm.
And for me, that's an abomination. I'm using
Right.
all of the strong words, but for me, I grew up so much in this culture, and I believe you too, obviously playing string quartets and all of that. You know how it is. And I believe there should be an alternative, and there's none
Mm.
so far. And I'm presenting that, in my concerts. So as I was saying, in my classical concerts, I have people dancing, which why not? I play tango,
I love
I
it.
play
Mm-hmm.
valses, whatever. So I have people dancing in my concerts, and it doesn't bother anybody. It doesn't, negate the experience. I believe it makes the experience way better. I have people hugging in my
Enhances it.
concerts. I have people
Mm-hmm.
kissing in my concerts. I have people crying in my concerts. I have people laughing out loud in my concerts. I have people shouting out during when I'm playing. Like I play something really cool and they, yeah, go Kostia, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Right.
can actually shout back while playing. And I don't see, it's super like, oh my God, what are you doing? But it's a human thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a normal
Mm-hmm.
human thing, and I actually love it, and I encourage it. I encourage when people are, getting out of this shell, because the guy next to you shouts, and I encourage it as a performer. Then you're going to be like, well, I'm not going to be shouting, but I might clap if I want
Mm-hmm.
to, because
Mm-hmm.
I know that nobody's not going to be, first of all, judging me. The performer is not going to, stop the concert and make it into a whole scene. They're going to love it. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that I say in my classical concerts is like, there's one rule, there's no rules. There's no rules. The rule is for you to enjoy your time, as it
Mm-hmm.
is in literally every single other concert, literally anywhere
Right.
else. You're never going to go to a Madonna concert or a Weekend concert and be handed a program saying that, oh, a Weekend is going to be singing Take My Breath, and then it's going to be followed by Sacrifice, and then he's going to be singing Starboy. And then Weekend comes out and says, please do not record me, and then start singing all of the songs without talking to the audience, without just singing the song, bowing, singing the next song, bowing. There's never going to be something like this. Never. And it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be, because
Mm-hmm.
it's actually created for regular people to enjoy, where you want to be greeted by, hello, how are you guys doing? Are you guys feeling the vibe? Let's do this song. I'm gonna sing this song. It means this to me. This means that
Mm-hmm.
to me, like a real normal presentation. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't get that in classical, and that's one of my rants. I have many of them. I believe in at its core, the violin is one of the most unique instruments, and it's the most underdeveloped and underused. It's the most horribly used instrument out of all. I'm going to explain what I mean,
Yeah.
actually,
Tell us
by
about that.
demonstrating on this beautiful
Please do.
instrument right here. So as you know, like anywhere, anything that you do, any instrument that you play, it's a beautiful. It's if you know how to use it, you can express whatever you can, whatever you want. But a violin is the only instrument in the whole world. I mean, viola. Sorry, I have to include it. But this instrument, the violin, whatever,
Hmm.
in whatever six string, whatever it is, an instrument like this, the braccio, the one that's on your shoulder, this instrument is the only instrument in the world that keeps you physically open to your audience. Think
Mm.
about it. If you play any wind instrument, when you're playing it, you can't even smile.
Mm.
I mean, it's nothing to say about like, okay, I obviously I love the saxophone. It's one of my favorite instruments to play. A lot of my phrasing is obviously based on sax licks and things like that. It's
Right.
obvious. I listen to a lot of saxophone. But when you play the saxophone, you can smile during doing it. You can play a lick and then be like, hey, you know what I mean? But you can't smile.
Right.
You literally have
Hmm.
something right in front of you. If you play the trumpet, it's the same thing. You have something in front of you covering your face, making funny faces, things like that. It's a beautiful instrument, but it's different. When you play
Hmm.
the guitar is one of the most popular instruments ever created, but
Hmm.
it's something that's a big machine that's covering right here half of your body. It's a physical
Hmm.
barrier between you and the audience, and even if you're
Hmm.
on stage and they're far away, it's still like there's a physical barrier literally covering half of your body. It's
Hmm.
very mental, but it is true. When you play
Hmm.
the piano, you're stationary. When you play the drums, you're stationary. When you play the guitar, I mean, the there's literally no other instrument that I can think of. Even when you're singing, when the singers are singing, they're holding a microphone right here in front of their voice, in front of their face. And,
Hmm.
I mean, they do their thing, obviously, but still, that's what I'm saying is like most of the performance, you're covered up. All of
Hmm.
that is to say that when I perform on my violin, I'm
Right.
always open. Like my
Hmm.
whole body, my whole face, my whole front of my body is open. That means I'm psychologically open for anything. I'm able to
Mm.
psychologically, because music is, for me, it's not about pretty sounds.
Mm.
It's for me, I'm what I say to everybody is everybody is a salesman, everybody is a dealer of sorts, right? And I am not a dealer of pretty sounds. I'm a
Mm.
dealer of emotions. I deal emotions, and
Interesting.
that's
Tell us
that.
about that.
Yeah, that's my product. This is the
Hmm.
product that I give to people. I don't give them pretty sounds. The pretty sounds and this instrument and all of my performance, it's just a vehicle. It's just a conduit. It's just a tool for me
Hmm.
to deliver my final product. And
Hmm.
the people who have ever felt it, who have ever experienced it, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is, that ties all together with the spiritual component of it, which I'm gonna touch upon later. But I want to finish this about the violin. Is that the violin, which is the most unique instrument, instrument that completely keeps you open to the audience. I am
Hmm.
able, with this instrument, while I'm performing, I'm able to shout whatever I want. I'm able to literally
Hmm.
communicate verbally with my audience. Oh, do you know this song? And I'm playing it. Or
Hmm.
like, oh, let's get down, And like
Hmm.
I'm able to actually entice and do a call to action or
Hmm.
start being like, woohoo, like I do that. 15 other people are going to start doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm able
Right.
to come up to a 70-year-old CEO of a company, whatever, or a deputy or sheriff or whatever, somebody who is up top. I'm able to come to him and he is coming to me and we're rocking out. He's right here next to me, or like a lady, like that's right here next to me. And they're not a CEO anymore. They're Billy and Susie and they're just having fun.
Hmm.
And that's what they want. That's what a lot of people want from us, from the
Hmm.
musicians. That's our role, is to give them that freedom, to give them that freedom to feel. like,
Mm.
because they usually are not allowed to do that.
Right.
We forget about it. We as musicians, we're so blessed, but we forget about it at all. Think about the
Mm.
regular person, or even not a regular person, a businessman, somebody who's very successful. They're they have to always be in that role. They have to be always be fronting. They have to always suppress their emotions. They have to always they're they're trained to do that. And you as a musician have to give them that ability to untrain, to become kids again, to literally
Hmm.
become children, to undo the years of training, of adulting, and to let them feel that childlike freedom. You know what I mean? And you know exactly
Yeah,
what I mean. And the
I
people who are
do.
watching, they know exactly what I mean.
Right.
And that is our role. It's not to play pretty sounds, and it's not for us. That's another thing is that I want to touch upon is that there's no ego involved in this. It's not
Mm.
for us. I'm not playing for myself. If I'm playing for myself, I'm not doing I'm not fulfilling my destiny. It's like, okay, for all of those, you might not know, I mean, my dad is a priest. My dad is an Orthodox priest, so I come from a very religious family, and I'm very spiritual myself, and I know a lot about it. And so in the Bible, it says that if you fast to show people that you're fasting, you already got your award.
Mm.
But if you do it for yourself and you're not showing, the award is for you to be given. But if you're showing people, oh, this is how righteous I am, that you already got your award because people already are commending you. Oh, look at him. He is amazing. That's your
Hmm.
award. So same
Hmm.
as this, same with music is like, if you play to get praise, you already got your award. That's your
Mm.
mission. That means that
Right.
this is that's this how shallow you are as a human, is that this is why you're doing this. No way. So for me, and it's very easy. It's very easy to become ego driven because people are enjoying you, but they're not enjoying
Hmm.
you. They enjoying, because for me, the real music making is where you are open enough and you're clean enough and you're to receive the channel, to tap into the channel of the spirit and to receive that and to be able to be a perfect conduit to give it out. And when
Hmm.
you give it out, it's very very easy to become like, oh, I did that, like me, Kostia, I did that, I'm so cool. As soon as you think that, you're out. The connection
Mm.
gets, because you're the spirit is like, you're doing it, you got it, okay, you got it, do it. And you lose that connection, then
Hmm.
there's just, it's just you doing your humanly things. But it's not, music is not that. Music is way bigger than that. Music is a
Mm.
way for spirit to communicate and for people to have the collective spirit. When you see these amazing concerts, when there's like thousands of people who never met each other, but they're all are moved by the same thing,
Hmm.
that's, some people might not understand what I'm talking about, and I'm not trying to, preach to anybody, but this is just the way I understand it, and this is the way I've came to realize of how to be the most successful, not successful for myself, but successful
Hmm.
in succeeding in my mission.
Hmm.
And that is to, make as many people feel and make as many people change people's lives, because you can change people's lives. Your mission is to show people something that they haven't seen before, something unnatural, something abnormal, something you can't be a normal human. You are the abnormality. You are showing people, and when you enjoy it so much, they're like, I've had a friend of mine once said that when you perform, it's not about it's not about me enjoying your music. It's about me looking at you and in a way evaluating my life and being like, do I enjoy what I do as much? Does it bring me as much happiness? What should I do in life to be as happy? And for me, I'm the most happy when I can be the most clean channel for this, because I
Mm.
know that I'm never going to play something as cool as the spirit gives, like when you
Mm.
tap into that, okay, I can rephrase it for the people who have no spiritual connection. It flow state. Everybody talks about flow state.
Hmm.
If you watched the Pixar animation Soul, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you should, um, because it literally describes the same process of, but,
Right.
but there's just different words to it. You can word it in any way that you want, but this is the process. This is the process that people for centuries have described, is that
Hmm.
when they create something, it's not them. They're like, something was given to me and I was just like writing it down, or like I was just, all of the songs, if you think about all of the songs, all of the biggest artists, that's what they say all of the time, is like
Hmm.
it's not, I wasn't, I got an inspiration, inspired
Hmm.
spirit by the spirit. And that's my, you know that's my idea of it, and that's the way to really make some impact. And this is where my thinking is, this is where my philosophy gets me, is more, it's beyond, you know earning money or something like that. It's to make an impact. And then when you do that, when you vibrate on that frequency, then everything else is going to follow.
Hmm.
Like the money is going to follow, the clients are going to follow, the followers and fans are going to follow, like all of that. Because then you're not doing this for yourself, you're not doing this for greed. You embody somebody who is beyond that. And that's for us musicians. We spend so much time alone with our instruments. Some people go crazy, some
Hmm.
people become really antisocial because they don't know how to speak to people. But some other people, they figure out a way. There's some totally amazing, incredible musicians who have sort of similar sentiments that me. Not that I'm like ripping off somebody. This is how I view it. But there's a lot, if you look into it, a lot of musicians who view music the same way, as a service, as their mission, as something that they have to be able to tap into that channel and be able to put it out in the best way possible.
There's so much that's like so beautiful that I love just like listening to you about your philosophy and what you're telling us here. If I could try, I'll try to put it into my interpretation. You tell me if I've got it. So when it comes to your philosophy, you feel that music is really just the tool to getting to people's emotions, and you feel like as soon as someone accepts the reward, as it were, of praise, they're limiting their connection to the spiritual
Yes.
or a higher realm to be able to continue to grow in that creative influence.
Yes.
I think that's very powerful. But tell me if I've
Yes, you're totally right.
got that
and
right.
and that's
Okay.
that's why a lot of musicians, I mean, there's different musicians, they're obviously like from all kind of religion, and it doesn't even have to be religious. It's
Hmm.
all, it's when you understand that it's not you.
Hmm.
It's when you understand people praising and you're like, yes, praise God, or praise
Mm.
the universe, whatever you want to call it, because people say God is dead, but the universe gave me a clue, like those two things or whatever, but you can call it whatever you
Right.
want. So if you say that it's not me, it's the spirit, it's my talent, it's whatever, I'm trying to do whatever I can, it doesn't mean that you just give up. No, you have to be the
Hmm.
best. You
Right.
have to understand that with you giving, especially, there's so many people who don't understand their mission in life. There's
Hmm.
millions of people who are struggling. They're like, what do I do? Like, why am I even here? And for us, for people who know, like, I know, that for you this is, music is, that's you, you're a musician. For like, I
Hmm.
mean, there's some people who are like, you know that you're a musician. Tomorrow, if you win $100 million, you're gonna just start buying violins, or like investing it in your, you know what I mean, or putting on
Yeah.
shows. You're not gonna be just chilling on Bahamas. I mean, there are
Hmm.
people like that. So if you're that type of person, that that's your thing. You're so blessed. You are
Hmm.
so blessed. And knowing that, now the only thing that you gotta do is just do it to the best of your ability.
Mhm.
So that's my philosophy. And all of the praise, let it go to the place where it belongs.
Mhm.
All of the praise, it's not, this is not where we're doing this.
Mhm.
And if that's why you're doing this, you're never gonna break through.
Wow. Wow. No, that's amazing. And I'll also add, I've never felt so validated as a violinist for not liking playing in an orchestra
And
after
this is
hearing you.
something, yeah, exactly, this is something that because you see, I'm just jumping from topic to topic because there's so much I want to share. This is something that I didn't finish about the violin, is that we have this amazing instrument that has been
Right.
created for the ultimate expression,
Right.
because you, at all times, you see my face, at all times you see my whole body is completely open, and
Mhm.
we use this amazing instrument, this amazing solo instrument that is mimicking the human voice, that is there to create amazing melodies. We use it to put it in in chains, like slaves,
Yeah.
by
Behind the sheet
two, have
music.
sheet
Yeah.
music and be sitting down and be like this, literally doing the opposite of what this instrument was created for, making it
Wow.
blend in, making it play half melodies. Like in orchestra, this is literally what you play. You play half a melody there, half a melody here, play boom tick tick
Mhm.
boom tick. That's all you do. You know, you're
Yeah.
misusing, and that's okay. I understand if this is what you want to use. Obviously, orchestral strings sound amazing,
Right.
but this is the only use. This is like the 98% of usage of this amazing instrument. That's horrible for me, and this is something that I want to change. I want to change, at least if it moves 1%, I'm gonna die a happy man.
I love it. I love it. And your passion's contagious even when you're not playing your instrument. So I appreciate all of that. I just went down the rabbit hole yesterday of discovering your Spotify, and I gotta tell you, it was so energizing, or it was last week actually, but super energizing to
Yes.
hear you. And everything that you're saying about your approach to the instrument is what I feel as I was listening to it. So I know you just recently released some new music there. So talk to
Yes.
us a little about your creative process when it comes to producing music. And I know it's just one component of what you do
Mm.
in your music life, but yeah, I was like so into it. I like, what's that like sexy saxophone song, like da 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 da, and
Oh
then you
yeah,
like
yeah.
mixed it with
Careless
Sam,
Whisper.
like,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, and then like and you mix it with Sam Smith or something. I don't know. It was awesome. Tell us about your creative process when it comes to like creating something new, because that's what us, who are in the rigid classical realm are having a hard time breaking out of. And like we relate on that. I haven't like, I'm a orchestra rebel, but I'm and I like to improvise. I'm not at your level or anything like that, but I totally like feel everything you're saying. So tell us about your creative process, and maybe it can help those listening who are looking to tap into their creativity and things along that line.
So yeah, I mean, everything comes from expression. Everything comes from the
Right.
thought and from not letting your preconceived notions about what music is and who a composer is, Mozart or whatever. You don't have to be Mozart. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and you have to let yourself express whatever you feel, whatever you like. You don't have to be ashamed of you liking this, or you're supposed to like that, but you're liking this. You don't have to be ashamed of anything. You have to be so true to yourself. You have to see yourself, see your vision, visualize it, and always believe in it. You have to,
Mm-hmm.
everything starts from belief and a real true genuine desire. This is how I was literally the same. I was playing, Paganini concertos or whatever, but then I was like, okay, no, me, I'm gonna be this. I saw it, I visualized it for years. This is not a overnight, they say an overnight success. They say overnight success because everybody was sleeping when I was working.
Hmm.
That's what they
Right.
say. You know what I mean?
I
That's why
like
they
that.
say
That's
overnight success, because, and for me, it's now, that's why I have, a successful career with a lot of demand, is because I've been doing this on this same business. And that's what they actually say is like find one thing and focus on it for 5 years at least. I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing the same business for over 6 years now, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
pretty consistently. The same business, the same, it's been growing, but it's the same structure. I haven't been deviating, and my goal is still always in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the creative process, this is something that has developed recently, like probably in the last year. I got into producing original music, my own music, something that
Mm-hmm.
I like, something that I express, and putting violin everywhere. Violin, no matter what it
Yes,
is,
please.
no
Yeah.
matter what kind of genre it is or what kind of preconceived notions you might have, violin is amazing. And I'm going to tell you this, that a lot of people that I meet, they absolutely love the violin. Like, we love
Mm-hmm.
violin, I love violin, but there are people who that's their favorite instrument. You know what I mean? And some people just forget about it because there's so much negativity and so many horrible stereotypes around the violin. But there are people who absolutely love this instrument. And if you have something to express, it doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Jean-Luc Ponty, or it doesn't have to be David Garrett. It has to be you. If you have something to express, something that you like, whatever you like, eh, you should just do it to the best of your ability. And this is what I started doing. Is first I started collaborating with different producers, and then I started actually getting into and learning how to produce myself, learning the digital audio workstation. I mostly work in Ableton, and also Logic too, but learning how to do this, learning how to, because whatever, like, you listen to a song on the radio, somebody actually programmed every single second of that song. And
Mm.
how do you do it? Like, if somebody could do it, like, I could do it too, right?
Right.
So that was my process, and I started like experimenting and trying to recreate this type of sound, and a little hip hop song and a little house music track, whatever you hear, just trying to be like, oh, can I do it myself?
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely recommend that to a lot of people. It's a hard journey, but it opens up so many different possibilities of you. If you don't want to produce, you can at least learn how to record yourself, in Logic. It's fairly easy process, but you can start recording different, covers, things like that. But having a quality recording, you know, mixing it up a little bit, putting like having quality recording, it goes a long way. It's really different from a phone live recording of whatever it is, and it's a different process. Recording yourself is a great process because you
Mm-hmm.
hear everything, and you're
Yeah.
like, I don't like
It's a good
this, I don't
teacher.
like that. I'm like, oh, do I really sound like this? Like, I thought I was so much cooler. You know what I mean? And then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, how can I fix this? Do I punch in something here, or how do I make sure that next time I don't have to do it, or how do I re-record this take to become better? Like different things like that. And it's, I mean, if you're a musician and you're not recording yourself, I mean, where's your music? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's, you can play it for somebody, but where's your music? You're a musician. And
Mm-hmm.
what I realized is, like, from about myself, like, I think I'm a musician, I'm getting a master's in music, but I'm driving here with my buddy. Can my buddy go on Spotify and play Kostia? Is that a possibility? At some point it wasn't. Now it
Mm-hmm.
is, and obviously I still have my old covers, and that's, it is what it is. And I love that album that I did with my band, but now it's a little bit of a different thing, where I'm going to be trying to release a little bit more original music and just have my sound there, whatever. I don't have to be Tiesto, and I don't have to be Linkin Park, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
me, and if
Yeah.
people want to listen to me and they like it, they should have that possibility, you know.
I love that. And one thing I want to rewind back to real quick is you mentioned how, that when you were talking about the overnight success, and how it's actually, you're just working all night
Yep.
type of thing. When it comes to your vision and how you've crafted it and you've just held it in your mind, I'm curious, has being in the US and Miami, has that been a big part of it? Or tell us about that and how being Miami, like you mentioned earlier, has kind of influenced and helped expand your creative palette of what a performance can be. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's totally incredible. I'm blessed every day. I mean, I did spend 4 years going to Eastman in Rochester, New York.
Hmm.
Eh, Good time, good times, bad time. I mean, not really bad times. I mean, but Rochester is not, probably the city that you want to be living in. No shade, but for me, the philosophy is this: like, if you don't really love where you're living, why are you living there?
Mm.
Because you
Right.
now in the 21st century, there is no real excuse. You pretty much can move. If you're not making enough
Hmm.
money to move, then what are you doing in your life? But you
Right.
pretty much can move. If you set up your life well, you can move anywhere you want. And that's where that was my thinking. I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish my bachelor's, but where do I really want to live? For the first couple of years of my bachelor's degree, I wanted to live in New York City really badly.
Mm.
I would visit every summer. I would spend a lot of time there. But then after 2020, it changed. It's not the same, and and I kind of was adulting a little bit more and started thinking about
Right.
things like taxes, and
Right.
quality of living, things like that. Owning a car, like, I mean, so it was just a natural thing for me to start looking to other places, and I found Miami, and I was like, this is the perfect place for me because it's on and up and up. It's like kind of like New York in the 80s, 90s. It's like everybody's moving here. There's so much construction going on. There's people flocking here, and the population is growing. And not to get too like deep political, like, I mean, people are flocking here, but people are flocking here. The Americans are flocking here the from the North States, not
Right.
not people from South America, coming in and
Right.
flocking,
Right.
like, so 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 the people are coming in who are very cultured, and so the demand is high, and it's growing, and it's growing and growing, but the supply is very low. Like,
Mm.
the really good musicians who are not musicians on the side and a bartender and whatever, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
really musicians who are practicing like whatever every day, who that's their thing. They're not doing anything else. Those types of musicians here are very hard to find. And
Right.
and especially the types of musicians like that who are willing and who know the entertainment business, and who know the pricing, who know the negotiation skills, whatever, who know how to network, who know how to build their own brand, like that in New York, plenty.
Hmm.
You have one violinist, he tells you 2,000, you can hit up a different one who tells you 1,000, and they're both
Right.
going to have a brand. They're both going to be good at improvising, because there's a lot of that in New York. Miami, no. You
Right.
want to get cheap, you're going to get cheap, and it's going to be cheap in all ways. So,
Right.
but people who are moving here, especially people with money, they don't want cheap. They don't want
Hmm.
a musician for $300 because they know what they're going to get. They don't
Mm.
want that. And so I'm here to provide them what they want. And honestly, there's no competition. Not that
Mm.
I'm being like cocky or whatever, but there's no competition to for somebody to provide what I do. And it's great. That's why I love Miami. And on the other hand, just as a human, just living conditions here are amazing. Like,
Hmm.
for the fraction of a price of what I would pay for an apartment in New York, I'm getting amazing amenities. I'm looking at palm trees. I have my pool right there. Like, come on. I I have my car. I don't have to drive in the subway, like ride the subway every day with homeless people and rats, whatever. So it's
Oh,
like
right.
the what I tell everybody about Miami is that here I'm able to pick my every single second of my life to be the way I like it.
Mm.
There's so many things here to pick. I want to go to the beach, I go to the beach. I want to go party, I go party. I want to go work, I work. I want to create, I create. I want to go meditate in the nature, I do that. Whatever I want to do, here it's possible. I mean, the only thing you can't pick, two things, is traffic and hurricanes. When it happens, it happens.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Gotta accept that.
it's not such a big price to pay for this amazing standard of living. So, and with that comes everything. With that comes peace of mind, peace of spirit, um, and being open for that. It's just a different frequency. You're living on that frequency. There's so many people here who move here because people who consciously move to live to Miami, there are people who have came to that in their life, and I came to that in my life at some point, and I like people who came to that. Usually we vibe together. So
Mhm.
so there's a great way to find community here. There's a lot of Ukrainians and overall Slavic people here, so I feel connected to that part of my heritage. So there's a lot of great pluses about Miami. There's not many negatives. At least I can avoid them if I want to.
Mhm.
And I do want to avoid most of the negative things. It's not really my
Right.
thing. So just
Fair enough.
that type of standard of living, the taxes, the freedom. It's amazing.
And one thing that you mentioned in there, which maybe we'll wrap up with this. You have alluded to it throughout the entire talk, really, of how not only your ability to tap into your art has been a huge um, leverage point for you, but also your ability to network and meet people and find communities. So I know you're going to be teaching a masterclass coming up in the pro group, and you're going to be given a little bit of tips on networking and how that's affected your life and helped you in your music career. You might give us a little baby sneak peek here. I know we got to wrap it up, but when it comes to, well, I'll just ask the question: how has being able to network and meet people, how has that played a role in your musical life?
It's the biggest, because honestly, like no matter how big your brand is, you always need a point of contact with humans. Every
Right.
business is a human business. And so everything starts from communication. Being able to communicate effectively is the key to everything. Knowing your style of communication, owning it, being completely intentional with every single word that you're choosing, speaking in a convincing voice, all of those things. Nonverbal communication, eye contact. Those are, as I said, I gave you guys a disclaimer. I'm going to be talking on very trite things, believe in yourself, blah blah blah, eye contact. Those are not just tropes. Those are the things that you think they're not important, but those are some of the most important things that you can ever think of. You can never underestimate those things. Your presentation. I'm here at home, but I was like, I'm gonna throw in a little suit, even though I'm throwing it on top of a wife beater. But it is what it is. Like your
Right.
presentation. Your style, and being completely intentional and congruent, and being
Mm,
who you are, knowing who you are, believing in yourself. Like believe in yourself, sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Believe in yourself. Who are you? For you to believe in
mm,
yourself, you have to know who you are. Like you have to figure out exactly who you are, like, the vision and whatever, all of that, values, all of that keeps coming up in your group. It keeps coming up in any business classes that I'm taking at school. That keeps coming up in any sort of book on self actualization and networking and communication. All of that is, you definitely have to know who you are, and then you have to 100% believe. Because if you don't believe, like if I know that I'm the superstar violinist but I don't believe it, I doubt it, nobody else is going to believe me.
mm,
But you have to 1,000% believe who you are. You have to identify it, and you have to live it every single day, and figure out your communication patterns, figure out a way of communicating with people, figure out some sort of, have be interesting, for us musicians. And I remember my first professor, Oleg Krysa, the Ukrainian superstar, amazing violinist, and one of the best students of David Oistrakh. He was the instrumental person to get me here in the America. So the first time I was here, and I was like 18, 19, very maximalistic, very young and ambitious, just got into America, was, really practicing a lot, was, you know, dedicating my life, because I was like, this is an amazing opportunity. I'm here. I have everything paid for, my dorms, my everything. Also, I'm like, I'm gonna be practicing. So I was practicing, and talking to my professor sometimes, and he would tell me this, and I didn't really understand it at that time. I was like, what can be more important than practicing? It's like, you gotta live your life. You gotta be a human. Yeah, you are a musician, but you're a human. First of all, you have to live your
Mm-hmm.
life. You have to know the human interactions. You have to know how to do it. It's so important. It keeps coming up to me at all times. My second professor here, amazing Charles Castleman, the legend in a violin world, he told me this thing about how do you get like the professor job at like the most prestigious university. What do you do? I mean, for us musicians, we play an audition. That's how we do it. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, that doesn't matter at all. Usually, the people who are going to be qualifying for this type of a job, they're all amazing musicians. They're all in their own way. They all are so accomplished. So
Mm-hmm.
the audition doesn't mean anything. How do you get the job? You have to win the dinner. The dinner after the audition, you have to win that, because they're not picking a cog in a machine. They're picking their own coworker. They're picking a
Mm-hmm.
person that they're going to be seeing for the next at least 10 years, right? A tenure. At least in
Mm-hmm.
the next 10 years, they're going to be seeing them every day. They're going to be probably sharing space with them on the same floor, having cabinets right next to each other. That's what they're picking. You have to win the dinner. It doesn't really matter how you, I mean, playing good is a baseline. Same for us. I mean, it works for us as well. Like, playing good is a baseline. You have to win the client in your communication. You have to win the client in the service that you provide, in the service after. It's not just about playing, obviously. Like, you have to come in, you have to be able to communicate with literally everybody in a room.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Like, there's no way you as a musician, you come in and you can't communicate with everybody. You just go and play. It's never going to happen. It's going to happen if you're an orchestra musician. If you're an
Right.
orchestra musician, you don't have to talk. You don't have to know music. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pick repertoire. You don't have to know anything about the music. You don't have to do anything. You literally have to follow the conductor and play what's in front of you. And that's it. And shut up. That's preferably. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you want to do that. That's what they teach us to do. That's what they train us to do. They train us to be office workers, office musicians.
Mm.
If you want to break out of it, you have to become a person. You have to live your life. You have to know how to communicate, and you have to know who you are. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the masterclass. I'll see you all of you guys there.
Amazing. So much wisdom there. And yeah, that applies to everything. I love that. You got to live your life, win the dinner after, because yeah, it's about being able to connect with people at the end of the day, or else your music's not going to do anything for people. So beautifully
Exactly.
put. This has been, I've like enjoyed this so much, and this has been like one of like the simplest like podcasts, because it's just like, oh my gosh, like everything you're saying is just so natural and so flowing, and it's just like your music. So thank you for this experience for me, and I know everyone else is going to feel the same way. So yes, there's that link below to jump in to jump into pro and check out Kostia's masterclass. He's going to be digging into more about networking on all of that. But with that, we also need more places to find you and check out all of your cool music and all of that, Kostia. So where can people find you? What's the Instagram? What's the Spotify? How do we do it?
First of all, thank you so much, Allison, for giving me this platform. It's such a pleasure to speak with
Appreciate
somebody who is understanding this concept that I put out, because it's not me doing anything, but it is a very rare thing to find a person like that. So I really, really, really appreciate it. And I know that everybody that you picked, and I value it so much, that everybody that you picked in the group are also people with that type of mindset. So it would be very easy for them to digest this information. And so, yeah, thank you for that again. And everybody
appreciate that.
who ever wants to find anything about me, you guys can find me just by Googling my name or typing it in into literally anything that you like, any streaming platform or media, social media. And it's Kostia Lucky, Kostia Lucky. Just go find me, shoot me a message, check out my website, check out my music. If anybody wants some mentorship, totally possible. Let me know.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this brilliant wisdom and insight. This was so much fun for me, and I really appreciate it. There's so much more we have to do here, so we have to have you back on again. But thank you so much, Kostia, and yeah, we'll see you around.
Thank you so much, Allison.